As the sun rises, glinting off the water in the channel and warming the island on its old railway, rousing the engines from their peaceful slumber, the Vickerstown bridge lowers with a metallic groan to admit an unfamiliar engine, the 9th engine. He, because he is, like the others here, sentient, is a Caledonian Railway Macintosh 812 class, a mixed traffic engine. 57646 should be happy, after all. As dieselization sweeps across the mainland and steam engines are being scrapped, he has scored himself a new home in that one last place where a steamer is truly safe. But as he puffs across the bridge onto the island of Sodor, the final leg of his long journey complete, his eyes are dull and his face blank. His new surroundings are colorful, every engine painted brightly and whistling cheerfully as they pass, but to him they are as monotone as BR black livery, like a black and white film running on mute. He pulls into the Vickerstown station, which is bustling with activity, and gives a whistle of his own. Contrary to the others, it is long and mournful, and for those who listen, it tells a tale of heartbreak and loss. Hello? He looks around in search of the voice and finds another mixed traffic engine, sitting at the neighboring platform. He too is sentient, painted in bright fire truck red, with a large yellow number 5 on his tender and a rake of wooden coaches behind him. He eyes the red engine carefully. Hi. Red engine continues. I'm James, the splendid red engine, he announces rather self-importantly. 57646 huffs and steam ripples out from his undercarriage. Wonderful, he says disinterestedly. James frowns, a bit cross. You must be the new engine. What's your name? Donald, and... He cuts himself off abruptly, falling silent. There's a long pause. Donald stares blankly at his buffers, and James waits. When Donald doesn't continue, he speaks. And what? Nothing. James might have said more, but at that moment the guard blows his whistle. Right, that's me. I'm off then. And then he's gone, leaving Donald still studying his buffers. He doesn't know how long he sits there before another booming voice interrupts his thoughts. Hello there, you must be my new engine, 57646, correct? Donald looks up to see a stout gentleman in a crisp suit complete with a top hat standing on the platform. Aye, sir. Donald, if you would, sir, he replies flatly. The man seems pleased. Ah, you have a name. I do like my engines to have names. Mine is Sir Topham Hatt, and I'm this railway's controller. Donald listens but does not reply. His eyes train on something behind the man. His fire flares furiously. He can't stand the sight of this man who bought him and not his brother, who condemned his brother to scrap with his selfishness. He can't. Donald, are you listening? Sir Topham Hatt questions. Donald's reply is cold. Aye, sir. The controller continues. You'll be helping out wherever you're needed. It'll mostly be goods work, perhaps a passenger train or two. Aye, sir. Glad to be of service, sir. He's not really. Not when his brother is alone on a cold siding waiting to face the scrapper's torch. He will be shedding with duck on his branch line. But you can stay elsewhere if you find yourself elsewhere at the end of the day. Aye, sir, Donald says again, still staring at something behind the controller. Right, the man says, unnerved by Donald's lack of eye contact and short monotone answers. Right. This here is Edward. He motions to another mixed traffic engine. bright blue with red lining and a number 2 on his tender. He will show you around today. Donald gladly removes his eyes from the general direction of Sir Topham Hatt and looks at the blue engine. He's an older engine, very similar in design to James. His smile is kind. "Hello," he whistles cheerfully. "Welcome to Sodor." Donald wants to reply, but he can't bring himself even to fake being happy, and he stares at his buffers instead. Edward frowns uncertainly. Well, we'd better get a move on then." Edward pulls out of the station and down the main line, and Donald follows in silence. They venture further into the island, popping in and out of harbors and quarries and mines, and whistling through stations. There is one station, Croven's Gate, which is situated in a narrow pass at the start of the hills that make up the center of the island. Here, they stop for a rest and find a race of little engines running up on little rails that wind up into the woods. Donald watches curiously, having never seen a narrow-gauge engine before. They are so small they only have drivers, no firemen, for they have no room. They are nearly taller than they are long and very old-looking, their whistles hoarse-sounding and their paintwork dusty. Edward whistles a greeting to the little engines and turns to Donald. "This is where the Skarloey Railway begins," he explains. "These two are Skarloey and Peter Sam." "Hello, Edward," calls Peter Sam. His livery is a lovely bright green. Skarloey, a dusty shade of red, rolls up to the platform. "And who's this?" Donald tries to smile, but it feels wrong and he stops. "I'm Donald," he says flatly, and looks at the little old engine's nameplate. "Welcome to our island," Peter Sam toots happily. Donald examines the rails in front of him miserably. "You all right there, boyo?" Skarloey asks, concerned by the new engine's solemn response. "Maybe he's homesick," a new voice suggests, and they look up to see a little orange diesel trundle down from the hills. Donald hates diesels. He hates the smell they leave in their wake, and he hates the way they're killing off steamers. But most of all, he hates how they took over his old railway and condemned his twin brother to his fate in the scrapyard. "I'm nae homesick," he snaps crossly, and something dark flashes across his face. "I'm just disturbed by the sight of ye, you dirty wee diesel." The other engines are taken aback. The little diesel looks about to burst into tears, and Skarloey and Peter Sam look quite cross. Edward lets out a shrill whistle. "Donald!" "What?" Donald sneers. "I thought this island was a diesel-free zone. I've been disappointed." The little diesel is in tears now, and Skarloey is trying to comfort him. Peter Sam, on the other hand, looks ready to blow his safety valve. "Oi! What's wrong with you? Apologize to Rusty!" Donald whistles that low, mournful sound that doesn't match his current mood. "I willna!" "Why the hell not?" Peter Sam demands, and Edward and Skarloey look at each other in disbelief. "Because," Donald snaps, his kind are nothing but vermin. They should all be obliterated for what they've done." And the other engine's jaws drop. Rusty, the little diesel, suddenly reverses backwards into the woods, still crying. "Oh, nice," Edward says crossly, finally speaking up. Donald just sneers and puffs away. He thunders down the main line, his fire flaring and his boiler fit to burst. "Donald!" his driver shouts. "Whoa, boy, slow down!" He applies the brakes, but this only upsets the engine more. "Dinna tell me what to do," he yells and forces his brakes back off. However, his crew see a siding ahead and slam on the brakes again. this time succeeding and pulling in to a stop. They hop out and walk around to face their engine. Donald just averts his eyes. "Dinna talk to me," he says. They ignore him. "What has gone into you? We know you're upset right now, but that was just ridiculous. The poor guy barely said 2 words to you." This doesn't help at all. "Upset?" Donald snaps. "You have no idea how I'm feeling right now. That doesn't mean you can just... You should be grateful you're here. Do you even realize how lucky you are?" Donald wheezes steam crossly. "Grateful? Lucky? My brother's been scrapped because of you two," he screams. And he might have run them over if they hadn't had the foresight